what is the purpose, whether it's a theological thing or just a belief in that, things work out the way they're meant to be, which is hard to believe in this day and age with so many things going wrong, right?
Scary. Today we're going to have some fun talking No Superman and Peacemaker Season 2, as well as Rick Flag Jr. and Christopher Smith's relationship, their real relationship on Earth X. This is all before my preview show for Episode 7, the pre-show happening Tuesday night. I hope to see you there. Let's get right to it.
You got like some business or something here?
What's up, Rick?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Digital Charcuterie. My name is James. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you're a fan of Peacemaker and looking forward to the future of the DCU, hit that subscribe button. I talk about it and discuss it with you all. Let's get right into it. All right, here we go. Off and running. Peacemaker Season 2 has been phenomenal so far. Start to finish. Last week, Episode 6. If you have not seen Episode 6 of Peacemaker Season 2, make sure you hit that pause button. Go and watch it, and I'll see you in about 39 minutes. It wasn't very long, and it won't take you much longer to watch it than that. Even if you order a pizza first, it won't take much time at all, I promise. But look, we're in this Earth X now, right? Here we are. Earth X confirmed. Everyone was like, oh, I called it. And I thought, and I said this in other videos, so I won't dwell on it, but I thought, even though it was obvious, I think it still worked. It was still good because of the impact that it had on the characters within the story. Like a twist is good the first time you watch something, but for a twist to work, like to be a successful twist, it's got to be impactful every time you watch it on a level of it makes a difference to the character and to the story. And I think that's what this did. So, like I've said my piece on that, we'll move on. But everyone's talking Superman, right? We've seen pictures of Corn Sweat behind the scenes with John Cena, I think with Danielle Brooks. We've seen, like, he's been around the block on Peacemaker. I think mostly, though, they were shooting Superman and Peacemaker at the same time, and they crossed paths. Lex Luthor, of course, is in Episode 6, which has raised the question, will we see the Man of Steel in Peacemaker Season 2? And James Gunn, he's coming right out. We got Variety here. He also did an interview with Brandon Davis, which I played off the top, which is a great interview. Brandon Davis, if you're not following him on YouTube, go for it. Great interview every week on the Morning After Pod. He's been having somebody. This week is going to be David Denham, who plays Keith in Peacemaker 2, and there was a specific reason why he's on it. They said this is the episode that he should be on the Morning After Pod, so I found that very intriguing. We'll talk a little bit more about that on my Tuesday night preview show for Peacemaker Episode 7. I'll have a preview show on Tuesday night. Be sure to check that one out, and let me know your theories going into Episode 7 as well, what you think is going to happen. Anyway, all that aside, and look, he was asked on that. And he's also asked in this Variety article right here. Variety is saying, speaking about the next episode, Rick Flag Sr. Frank Grillo visits Lex Luthor in Belle Reve prison and strikes a deal with him in exchange for help finding Peacemaker. Should we expect to see David Cornsweat as the Earth X or Earth 1 versions of Superman on the show? And James Gunn flat out says no. No. In fact, David was very upset that Nick got to be on the show, and he didn't. It just didn't work. I needed Lex in the show to serve a specific purpose. And actually, what Lex and Rick Flag are up to affects very much what happens in an aspect of Man of Tomorrow. So all of that is connected. But this relationship between Rick Flag and Lex Luthor is potentially a negative thing for Superman and all metahumans. It goes on to say, you were writing the season while you were also working on Superman, so did you know where you wanted to take Lex's storyline for Man of Tomorrow? Yeah, totally. Yeah. I didn't know some things about it, but I knew what the overall story of the DCU was. That was something I pitched to Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav before we even took the job. I'm like, here's the story. There's going to be this movie, this show, this movie, this show, and those things all fit in different ways. Some things came like Clayface that we didn't expect, and other things have been a harder road to travel. But the general outline of the overall story is what we are following through Superman, Peacemaker, Man of Tomorrow, and beyond. So he says no, Superman will not be in it. And then you start to say, well, what about Overman? Overman has to be in this season, right? We got to see Overman in Earth X. We have to see Overman. And I don't think we're going to see Overman. Based on this, he says no. David was upset. He also said this on the Brandon Davis podcast. Also, he said David Cornsworth was upset. And David Cornsworth he's a genuine nerd, right? I think he wants to be in all of these things. He said in the behind the scenes on the Superman documentary, he says, I want to be in the Batman movie. I want to be in Batman. And so you know that he would relish at being in Peacemaker. He probably wants to be in every single DCU project going forward, but that can't be. I like that James Gunn just flat out and said no, which I think that's why I think it takes Overman off the table, because he wouldn't say David, right? He would say, no, Superman doesn't fit in this story. But he's not saying that. He's saying the actor playing Superman doesn't fit in this story. Unless, of course, they got Henry Cavill to play Overman in this one. I don't think we're going to see Overman or Superman in Peacemaker season 2, which is unfortunate. But look, what's great about it, though, is James Gunn coming out and also saying, I needed Lex for the story. I don't need Superman for the story. So he's not just shoehorning in characters and putting in these characters for cameos for us to all be like geeking out over it. He's doing what is necessary to progress the story forward. I think Hawkman, Guy Gardner, Mr. Terrific, like they're all there to progress the story forward. They're not there as there's cheap shot cameos. There is a purpose to all of this, and I respect that. And again, I said this on my review of the episode. I thought the Lex and Rick Flag Sr. scene was one of the best scenes in the series as a whole. I just thought the acting was phenomenal in that and what they're setting up. You know, it fits perfectly in with what's going on with Peacemaker season 2, but obviously it's going to go beyond all that. And I just thought that was great. And again, if you don't need Superman in it, why are you going to just shoehorn him in it? Obviously, it would be awesome to see Superman or Overman. Like, Overman would be amazing. But if you're not focusing on that aspect of Earth X, if that's not what the story is about, where does he fit in, and why would you shove that in just to have it? Because that's a very powerful character and a big character to throw in. There's 2 episodes to go. It's not like this character, unless the character becomes a huge threat going down the road, possible. It's just not a character you want to throw in at the last minute. So that's, so I take him at his word here. I don't think we're going to see Superman or Overman in Peacemaker season 2. Let's move over to the Rick Flag Jr. of things. This was a great scene earlier in the season where you discover that Rick Flag Jr. and Harcourt in our dimension are bestest of friends. They're having an affair on the side. There's a little tie-in with original Suicide Squad movie, David Ayer's Suicide Squad movie in there as well, which was great. But then you learn that in Earth X, you see that Rick Flag Jr. is alive and well, but he's not as tough, as rigid as he is in our dimension. He's a little goofball, right? He's a little shy and nervous, and he's not quite all there right now. And he really acts kind of strange towards Peacemaker because he knows, he's dating Harcourt, and he knows that Peacemaker is coming after his girl to that extent. Watching the episodes, seeing where we're going with the episodes, knowing what we're knowing now about everything, especially I think the first clue for what I'm going to say was Vigilante's dad right in there. We also know, based on how the series is going, that in this dimension's Christopher Smith Peacemaker has been leaving a lot, right? He hasn't been around a lot. No one he really knows, right? He goes to Bloodhaven. They're like, oh, I thought you were in Bloodhaven. He disappears a lot. And even in the episode, his brother, one episode, I think it was episode 3, his brother says, hey, you've been leaving a lot more than usual. Is everything okay? We find out that he has a substance abuse problem this season. And it's all adding up to why is this the case? And I think that Peacemaker and Rick Flag Jr. might be more than just colleagues or more than just 2 people with the same love interest. I think they are each other's love interest in this. I think we're going to find out that Christopher Smith in this dimension was having an affair with Rick Flag Jr. in this dimension. I think both of them are conflicted. I think they have to leave, to hide away, to stay away from all eyes where they know them so they can get around this. I think there's been clues. Also, the cop mentions how is that Peacemaker? He's not in his costume. He's not wearing his helmet in the one episode. And Harcourt's like, yeah. There's something there to it. I think Rick Flag Jr. and Christopher Smith, I think they might be on some level compatible with the Sons of Liberty. I think Rick Flag Jr. 100% is. I know there's the Captain Atom theory running around that he might be Captain Atom, and I don't mind that idea, but I'm not sure how that works in this circumstance. Like, he'd be so powerful. I just don't know how you would do that and why you would change his origin to make him Rick Flag Jr. That being said, if it means bringing him back into ours, I wouldn't be opposed to that because I like Rick Flag Jr. I mean, the Suicide Squad is one of my favorite superhero movies of all time. So I wouldn't have a problem with that whatsoever. But it's just being Captain Atom, I like the idea. I like where the idea is coming from. I'm just not sure how you make it work with having, him being so powerful versus, and after what I just said about Superman, he doesn't really have, like, from what we know, there's no counter to that right now. But I do think that there is a secret romance between those two that we haven't discovered yet, or they've been dropping hints of, and that's why Rick Flag was so awkward with Peacemaker in that, and that's why they keep, Peacemaker's leaving. I think that's why he has a substance abuse problem. He can't live with himself in this world where that's a strict no. That's a no-go. No way, no guy. For me, this really fleshes out their awkward exchange at Argus. You got some business being here, says Rick Flag. The way he's spying on him, looking on him like he shouldn't be there. Their gig might be up. They might get caught. There's a lot going on here that was subtle that you didn't notice the first time around, but when you rewatch it, also look at Peacemaker's wardrobe, right? Adebayo references in the season, the way he's dressing. I brought up, of course, his substance abuse. There are elements here that are all going towards this being the case, that Rick Flag Jr. and Peacemaker were having an affair in Earth X. And when you go back and you rewatch the episode, there's so many signs, so many clues there as to their relationship. Like when you first see Rick Flag, you're thinking, oh, Peacemaker is going in, he's going to try to steal his girl. Like, this is an awkward conversation. But he shrugs his shoulders, Rick Flag does, in this way that suggests, what are you doing here, man? Like, you can't be here. We're going to get caught. And Peacemaker, obviously being oblivious to all of this, is like, what are you talking about, here to see Hardcore? He's like, why would you come to do that? And Hardcore kind of plays it in. I don't know if she's in on it or not. Like, she might be. I kind of want to speculate there's a good chance that she's in on it, that she's part of the Sons of Liberty, but she immediately wants to arrest other Hardcore. So, I mean, whether you're a freedom fighter or not, you might still want to arrest your doppelganger if they sneak into your place of business. I think she is kind of the beard for these guys as they go back and forth to kind of, so they don't blow their cover and get caught. I mean, if Peacemaker is bisexual in our dimension, he would be bisexual probably in the other dimension. And again, the signs are all there. His wardrobe is all there. His wardrobe, I think, is the big key, because that's not something that probably would be accepted in that dimension so much. I think that's why it's a little bit more flamboyant over there than over here, the way he dresses. And you wonder who else would know and be in on this, and how far and deep are the Sons of Liberty? How deep do they go? Are there other characters from our dimension that play a part in that? Of course, I believe a lot of the Charlton comic characters are in the Sons of Liberty, but are we going to see other characters in there as well? Rick Flag Sr., we haven't seen or heard from him all season. Is he a part of that as well? Is that why Rick Flag Jr. has this? I think Rick Flag Jr., I wouldn't be surprised if Rick Flag Sr. was the one that was killed in this dimension, and Rick Flag Jr. is the survivor here. That's one way that I think would go. That would kind of be the parallel that you see there, that you speculate there, especially if, people are speculating that Rick Flag Jr. might come back to our dimension. That's how they get him back in here, would be through this, and that could be the case. And if you do that, then, you might have to say Rick Flag Sr. in that dimension is not around anymore, and that could be why he would gracefully enter our dimension and leave his behind. Also, I mean, aside from the fact that dimension is trash, but so that's where I think that these two characters have had this intimate relationship, a real relationship. Are they in love? I don't know. I don't know how deep it goes. Or maybe, they just know each other's history there. And maybe Peacemaker is a part of the Sons of Liberty as well. And he's playing both sides, and he's trying to infiltrate the top trio. And Rick Flag Jr. is trying to infiltrate Argus. And they're trying to figure out what's going on and trying to really, break free of this regime that they are under and get away from it. Because James Gunn loves family and twisting things on its head. And he said, ultimately, he's kind of said ultimately this is going to be about Peacemaker and Hardcore kind of finding out how to love themselves and each other. He's kind of said that. I think he referenced that a few times. And I think this season has all been about growth, right? Learning the growth, who you are, what you are, and all that. And I think it's for not just for Peacemaker or for Hardcore, it's for all of the 11th Street kids, but mostly, obviously, Peacemaker, it's his show. And I think him understanding and learning the relationship that his other dimension had, how he had to go into hiding, how he had this substance abuse problem because of that. You learn that the other Peacemaker had hardships that put him on the same kind of level as our Peacemaker in terms of, the use of drugs and whatnot, but he had to do it in hiding in the other dimension because of the world he lived in and because of who he was. Whereas our Peacemaker, he gets to live in our dimension for the most part, open and freely of all of this. And it shows that no matter what, your problems are still your problems and you can't escape them. This dimension or that dimension, Peacemaker, Christopher Smith is Christopher Smith and Augie Smith is Augie Smith. And no matter how good he thinks he has it, his issues are still the same. He had a bad upbringing here and he definitely had a bad upbringing there. And I think he's going to learn, though. He's like, oh, look, this one had to sacrifice, his soul and everything. And me, I kind of get to live freely. Because no matter how bad he had it in our our dimension, he was still able to be open with his father. Now, it didn't end well with his father, but he still had that relationship with him where he could be honest with him. So, well, I don't know. We'll see where that all goes. But I do think ultimately the Rick Flag Jr. Peacemaker thing, I think we're going to learn more there. I think, look, even if it's not a romantic relationship, which I think, right, that's where my head's at after rewatching it. That's where I think it is. If it's not, they're still in cahoots in some capacity, and he should not have killed his son pretty clearly. And I think Rick Flag Jr. will know that. And there's going to be a conversation, and we'll see. But I'm going to have my preview show Tuesday night. Can't wait to talk about that. There's more to discuss. I just want to talk about this theory here and Superman. And I want to thank you guys for spending some of your time with me. I really appreciate it. Hit the like button and subscribe button. Until next time, may be the master of your own universe.